All right, guys, today we are going to talk about masks and how not to wear a mask. So I'm probably going to get banned for this video. My handle everywhere is contact Cole Campbell. Same one here, wherever you are seeing this now. And I'm not going to get banned from Gab or from Rumble or from BitChute. So if you want to go find me there. After, chances are Instagram's not going to like what I have to say, or chances are someone's going to report my video because they don't like free speech. With that out of the way, so quickly what this video is about in about a minute is masks don't do anything. There's overwhelming evidence. You're not going to see much of it. If you want to see it, then I can try and dig up some videos that have since been censored. Go on BitChute's really good. There's a guy named Sean Model who has like almost an hour-long presentation from like 6 or 9 months ago on why masks don't work, and he's a doctor, and he's got lots of research. So masks don't work. All the fines for masks and social distancing and all this silliness is all going to get thrown out of court if you have any idea of how human rights work and how constitutional rights work. Doesn't matter what your country is. I focus on Canada because I live here, but it is the same in every country. We all have the same innate or God-given human rights. It doesn't matter where you're from. With that said, you are sovereign. No one is above or below you, so the government can't tell you what to do. You can choose to consent or submit to the government if they're doing the right thing, but they clearly are not. There's clearly ulterior motives to COVID and what they're doing. So you can revoke your permission. You don't have to wear a mask. Nobody's above you to tell you to wear one. Fines will be thrown out. The real reason masks are being pushed is to kill the human spirit. If you can't see someone's face, it kills connection. So they don't want us to be connected because they're selling out our countries and making the elite really rich. So they don't want us organizing against that. All you got to do to dig down deeper, all you got to do is say you're exempt from wearing a mask. Hey, I'm exempt. Oh, well, what's your medical condition? Sorry, under Health Canada policy or under the Americans with Disabilities Act or whatever your specific country is. Sorry, under this act, I don't have to tell you my condition. That's private medical information, but I am exempt. And under your exemption, your mask mandate by whatever government, sir, you don't have to ask me. You won't get fined if you give me an exemption, because businesses will not get fined if they give you an exemption. They might think they will, or they might want to be hardline about it, but that's their own problem. You can go shop somewhere else, or you can submit, your choice. But nobody's going to get fined if you don't wear a mask. No one's going to fight you, honestly. Like, I run into issues maybe 1 out of every 30 times I go into a store, especially stores where everybody has to go, like grocery stores. I never get harassed at Superstore, Sobeys, or Safeway, or Save on Foods, or wherever you go. I've never been harassed at a gas station. I might get asked, but you just say you're exempt and that's the end of it. Nobody presses the issue. And if anybody does give you a hard time, it's their own problem, right? A lot of people are scared, so we do have to be graceful. But it's not your responsibility to manage someone else's emotions. So if they want to be scared, just be graceful and gracious, and don't get upset with them. Don't respond emotionally, and just kind of let them go. Let go. It's not, you didn't do anything wrong. It's their problem if they want to be angry or scared or whatever. And we're really doing this for the truth, right? We know this is bullshit. If you don't know it's bullshit, I'm sorry. There's overwhelming evidence. I don't blame you for not knowing that COVID's bullshit, because all the evidence to the contrary has been censored off of every media platform. So don't think I'm upset with you, but it's bullshit. And the sooner we realize that, the sooner we can take back our country for the people who can't speak out. We're courageous, right? So we need to make a stand for the people who can't or don't have the courage, there's lots of people dying of suicides from these lockdowns. Everybody's isolated. People, their lives suck. Nobody's having a good time. So let's just get this over with. Let's just spread the truth. So that's the Spark Notes, which I guess turned out to be about 3 or 4 minutes. But digging in deeper, you could stop watching at this point, but I'm going to dig in deeper to the philosophies and the reasonings behind this, and how you can make a difference. So if you want to stick around, feel free. So masks don't do anything. If we need to wear 2 or 3 masks now, or 4, where does it end? Why didn't we do this from the start? Go back 9 months, and all of the big scientists were, and like public health officials were saying, oh, don't wear masks, masks don't work. And someone's going to comment and be like, well, they just said that so that the hospitals wouldn't run out of masks. And it's like, okay, like, so they lied to us? So you're admitting they lied to us? Like, oh, but it's for the greater good. Well, so was the Holocaust. That was for the greater good. But clearly that wasn't a good thing. Like, governments lie. And if you look at the stats, like there's no excess deaths. Like, sure, I'm also going to get a comment from someone being like, well, look at this CDC graph where it shows excess deaths. Like, go look at every country on earth. Like, yeah, you have one doctored graph or like one like misleading graph from like the New York Times that they've been pushing aggressively, or like Fox News or whatever, swamp news organization. Like go look at the rest of them. Don't hang your hat on like one graph that you saw in the news. Like, don't hang your hat on anything you see in the news. Go look at like a dozen different sources for something. I know it sucks. That's a shitty thing to have to do, to waste all that time. But like, don't just believe what the news feeds you or what you see on social media from like your friends. Because like, I make posts all the time and like nobody sees them. Like I get censored. I see it. And some of my posts get more censored than others. If I say something that's really wrong, then nobody sees it. And then I'll post something the next minute and lots of people see it. So it's weird. I have friends with massive Instagram accounts, 50,000 followers, and they've gone from like 10,000 views on their stories down to like 1,000 just because they post political stuff. So it's like political opinions that don't fit the mainstream are being censored, and there's a reason for that. So there's no excess deaths. If you look at any kind of like excess deaths in any demographic, like, yeah, there are more old people dying allegedly, but like there's like, if you really dig into that, like all these nursing homes where all the deaths happening, it's only like really specific nursing homes. Like most of them are normal, and then there's like the odd nursing home where it's just like death is through the roof. And if you really dig in deep, they're usually government run. They're usually in bad repair. Like the Canadian Forces went into a bunch of nursing homes in Ontario and found that it was basically elder abuse that killed them, not COVID. There's do not resuscitate orders, which means that if someone like loses their vital signs, then the doctors and nurses aren't allowed to revive them. So this has been put in place since COVID, which is amplifying the death numbers. And again, I'll come back to it. Excess mortality worldwide has barely moved or is lower or is the same. So masks don't work. COVID's not what they say it is. Why is there no more flu? Like, where did the flu go? Where did pneumonia go? All of a sudden, it's just COVID. Not to mention, I have friends who've died, or like have family who've died of like lung cancer or like drug overdoses, and they're listed as COVID deaths. Like, I'm sorry, if the heroin needle's in your arm and you're dead, it's not because you had the China virus. So masks, like if masks do work, oh, there's no more flu, the masks worked. But then people are like seeing COVID numbers going up and they're like, oh, nobody's wearing masks because, so we need to wear more masks to protect against COVID. It's like, which is it? And people are like, oh, well, the flu is airborne and COVID's not. Like, go look at how many times the World Health Organization and the CDC have flip-flopped on whether it's airborne or surface transmitted. They don't know what they're talking about, or they do and they're lying. Like, don't trust anything you hear. Don't trust anything only trust half of what you see and none of what you hear. And I mean primary sources that haven't been doctored or deepfaked. So it's a challenge. So it's clear politicians don't know what's up. So either they're lying to us or they're misled themselves. And honestly, I think a lot of them, like small town politicians and like local politicians, like city councilors and stuff and health officials, they're in like the limelight right now. Like they're the heroes. They're the Avengers, the superheroes, right? So they don't want to give up their power. And power corrupts. Like I've been there. It's happened to me. And a lot of these people who kind of went on the bandwagon early on, like there were like NGOs, like just random like slush funds pushing municipalities to push masks. I'm not kidding. There was a site. It was like pushformasks.com or something like that. And it was, if you read the site, it was like, hey, like, does your municipality mandate masks? Not yet. No. Why don't you? We'll pay you money to mandate masks. I'm not kidding. I'm not making this up. So there's big slush funds of money paying to mandate masks because they want to suppress people, because they want to take more of our wealth. People at the top, people with lots of money, people with no consciences, just evil people who are greedy. Like we're all sinful, we're all humans, we're all imperfect, and some of us don't have control over our darker, more evil like feelings and inclinations. So we've talked about how masks don't work. COVID's essentially a sham. politicians, if they're not downright evil, they're misled, or they're, embarrassed that they were misled to begin with, and now they can't really backpedal and be like, yeah, I was wrong. I don't know, like, I barely know anybody who can admit they're wrong. Like, all my close friends can, and that's why we're close friends, but I know so many people on the periphery that just can't admit when they're wrong, and I'm not surprised that politicians can't either. So that's kind of like the background of like where COVID is and where masks are. Let's go outside of masks and say that nobody can tell you what to do. I like to use, it's called natural law, and there's really only two laws, one of which is don't cause harm to another, two of which is don't break contracts, and three is you are innocent until you're proven guilty. And that's natural. I call it natural law. Some people call it God's law. Common law, which is the British system, which is, Canada and the US and most Western countries follow some derivative of that system, is the same thing. So you're not above or below any other person. Nobody can tell you what to do. The government can't tell you what to do. You can submit to them. You can be like, yeah, they're a great government. I'll listen to what they have to say. But you don't have to. The Americans decided they didn't want to listen to the British because the British were screwing them over 250 years ago. And they said, yeah, we're not going to do your thing anymore. And unfortunately, the British tried to kill them. But they didn't do anything wrong. The American Revolution wasn't illegal. They just said, no, we are not consenting to be governed anymore. So you don't have to overthrow your government. You just have to say, no, you're overstepping your boundaries. Like, you do good stuff, or maybe you don't. Maybe whatever you believe about the government. Yeah, I'm not going to argue with you on everything, but I'm not going to do this one thing because you have no right to make me do this one thing. Like, look at weed. Weed was illegal, so it was bad. Now it's good. Like, that makes no sense. So revoke your submission. And the thing is, like, you're a sovereign person, whether you believe in God or believe that we're all equal. It doesn't matter. Like, the government can't tell you what to do. They're not better than you unless you agree to it. And then even under their laws, so let's assume you do submit to the government. Well, under the Canadian Constitution, Charter of Rights and Freedoms, they can't do what they're doing. They can't compel you to take a medical treatment. They can't compel you to take an action. They have a provision in the Canadian Charter that says that they can cancel human rights because of like an emergency situation, which I think is bullshit. Again, like, you don't need to submit to their rules. But even under their rules, if they want to do that, they have to go through so much proof that what they're doing is actually justified, and they've done none of that for this pandemic. Like, there's just no proof that there's anything outside of a seasonal flu going on. And yeah, so they're even under their own rules, they can't tell you what to do, what to wear a mask. So we've gone through the background. We've gone through like the specifics of the law. You're not going to get a fine. Even if you do, it's going to get thrown out of court. No judge can uphold these fines in good conscience. And if they do uphold these fines, well, then we've got worse problems to deal with, because that means our government is illegitimate and they're breaking the law. So that's when things get really bad. But it's not going to get to that point, so don't worry about it. Just stand up for yourself now and prevent that from happening. So how to not wear a mask? Finally there. So very simple. Don't. Just walk in. 99% of the time you're going to walk into a place, 95%, whatever it is, and they're not going to say anything. You're just going to walk around, you're going to do your shopping, you're going to buy your thing, whatever. If someone asks you, usually they're like kind of nice about it. Like, they kind of treat you like you're stupid, or most people, like most of the responses you get are positive or neutral, where they're like, sir, do you have a mask? And you just say, no, sorry, I'm exempt. Or like, you don't apologize, just say, no, I'm exempt, thank you. Like, thank them for like caring about your health, because that's what they're misguided, but that's what they're doing. No, thank you, I have an exemption, or I don't do that. And then they say, well, what's your exemption? And all you say is, well, no, sorry, I have a medical exemption. And they'll say, well, what is it? And you say, well, under Health Canada policy, I don't have to disclose that to you. That's private medical information. And if they say, well, do you have a card or something? This is where you say, well, no, I don't need to have a card. Like, I don't need to prove to you that I have a medical, like a disability. Like, that's super against the law. And then this is, if they keep pushing, this is where you can flip it around on them and say, are you aware that under Canadian human rights law, you could get, you're not, so let me back up. So tell them, listen, I know you might be worried about fines. Like, you want to diffuse their worries, right? Like, hey, listen, I know you might be worried about fines, but you're not going to get fined for honoring my exemption. It's written into the mask laws or the mask mandates. You can go read that. Like, don't worry, I'm not going to get your store in trouble. I'm not going to get you in trouble. And then add on this, say, but are you aware that by violating my human rights, you can be subject to massive fines? And that's not like a threat. Like, I'm not mad at you, but I just want to make you aware. So flip the script on them, right? They think they're going to get fined if you don't wear a mask. Let them know that they can get fined if they force you to wear a mask. You don't have to do that. Like, take your pick. Like, I'm just taught, I don't usually do that. Like, that might happen the odd time. But the general thing is, yes, I have an exemption. No, I don't have to tell you what it is. No, you won't get fined. Yeah, I get that you care about my health, but like, I know, like, it's all good. Like, I have an exemption. Nobody's going to get hurt here. Don't worry about it. And in 99.999% of cases, they're just going to like walk away. Like, people don't like conflict. They don't like to conflict with you. So if you're doing something that's not hurting someone, you have every right to stand up for your rights and be assertive. And most people are not going to challenge you. They know that they're wrong, or they just don't like conflict, and they'll just back down. And it doesn't make you a bad person for standing up for your rights. Like, you're not doing anything. You're not hurting anyone. I'm adding this to the video after the fact, editing it in, but nobody's going to come after you if you wore a mask yesterday and you aren't today. Like, anybody can go to their doctor and get a medical thing. Who knows what you did? And they're not going to recognize you anyway because you were wearing a mask, and they're just not going to recognize you, and they're not going to care. Like, nobody really cares. Most people don't want to enforce these rules. They don't want to be cops. So if you don't wear a mask, like, just be like, oh, like, I have a medical condition, I can't do this anymore. Or like, just, nobody's going to say anything though. And the odd chance they do, like, it's not a big deal. You're just going to have like one conversation, and they're never going to say anything ever again. So don't back down to pressure. Again, this is not going to happen often, but the odd time it does, it feels really good when you stand up for yourself. Like, it really, like, it's hard to describe how good it feels to stand up for yourself when you're standing up in the face of tyranny and lies. You can make up a medical condition. I'm not saying like the government's lying to us about COVID, so you can lie to them. Like, that's self-defense. You can't lie to someone to deprive them of the truth. But if the government's going to lie and force us to wear masks, then you have every right to not play that game and to make up a medical exemption. If you don't want to make something up, say, I have a strong religious or a strong, I have a strong belief. Like, a strong belief can be a medical exemption. I have a strong belief that masks are not healthy for me, which they're not. So with this strong conviction, if I were to wear a mask, that would cause me mental distress, which is true. On top of the physical issues of like rebreathing bacteria and mold and God knows, and carbon dioxide and God knows what else. So you don't have to make up, or you could just say you have anxiety, or say that you have claustrophobia, or like be shameless. Like, there's nothing to be ashamed of lying to a government that's lying to you. Like, lying is bad, but self-defense is good. We're at war here. So, and never assert yourself. Like, assert yourself, but never accuse anyone. Don't say, oh, you're violating my human rights and you could get fined. Just ask them, be like, are you aware you're violating my human rights, and are you aware you could get fined? Because then you're not accusing them of anything. You're just making them think and making them come to the conclusion that they're doing something bad. You're not accusing them. Very fine line. And that's about it, but it is going to be hard. Like, I have to psych myself up before I go into Superstore. Like, and I don't even get, like I said, you don't get harassed. Like, 1 out of 30 times you might, but the other 29 times it's fine. Nothing happens, but it still sucks. But, if we want to fight back against this lie that is COVID, then we have to be willing to assert ourselves and do some hard work, because I don't want to have to be fighting this continually. And once enough people stand up, once like 5% of people stand up, it's over. Like, enough people walking around the grocery store without masks, people are going to realize it's bullshit very quickly. We just need to get back to that point. That was the case, like 6 months ago in Alberta, and I don't know if it ever was in Nova Scotia or wherever you might live, but there's places in Florida where nobody does masks anymore because they've just kind of given up on it, and it's become a social phenomenon, and Florida's doing great. Go look at their COVID numbers. They're fine. Go look at the deaths. Don't look at cases. So we're doing this for the people who don't have the courage to fight. We're doing this for the people that are dying in isolation, who are too scared to go to the grocery store, who are suffering the loss of their family members, of their social support, their communities, and like just don't want to go outside in this world that's evil and that's filled with evil right now and hostile. So we're doing this for the people who can't fight. You know, I know you're all strong people. I've got a lot of faith in you. I got a lot of love for you all, everybody watching this video. So just have courage and know that there's a massive groups of people who have your back. We're all out here fighting for you, cheering for you. And the last point I'll say is be really kind to everybody you meet. And I'll reiterate this. Like, don't be mean to them. Don't act like they're against you. Just explain to them, like, hey, I have an exemption. Like, you might not be used to this. Oh, thank you very much for respecting my human rights. Like, thank you very much for being nice to me. And like, if you have the money, leave massive tips and be clear about it. Like I walk into a store and if they harass me about a mask, you know, I might just walk out, but assuming I get my food or whatever, I'll say, hey, listen, you'll notice I didn't leave you a tip. That's because you harassed me about a mask. Next time, if you don't harass me, I'll leave a massive tip. I leave huge tips. And I walk out and they're kind of confused, but you know, hits them where it hurts. Or if I walk into a restaurant, they don't harass me. At the end, I'll leave them, you know, a massive tip. And I'll say, hey, I left you a big tip because you didn't harass me. You respected my human rights. Thank you. And if you don't have the money to leave a massive tip, just leave massive compliments. You know, hey, thank you. I don't have the money to leave a tip because I'm, you know, not doing so well right now. But I really appreciate you not harassing me about masks, and I'm going to spend lots more money at your store, and I'm going to tell all my friends about you, and I really appreciate you, and you seem like a nice person. Just spread love. Just lots of love. Smile at them. Like, when you're in the grocery store, just, like, I whistle all the time. I stick my tongue out. Like, I make it very obvious that I'm the guy not wearing a mask, and I don't care, and I'm not ashamed about it. So, like, just be yourself. Be happy. Be a human. Like, just don't wait for normal to come back. Just be normal, and normal will come back to you. You know, you attract whatever vibes you put out. And be willing to walk away. Like, I'll walk away from anywhere that makes me wear a mask. I drove across the country recently because I didn't want to fly. I won't go into Costco. I spend like thousands of dollars every year at Costco because they have good food and great prices. I will not go into Costco anymore. Like, I won't buy stuff from them online. There's tons of stores out there that aren't like super aggressive about masks, and I'll spend a little bit of extra and you know, try and buy local and avoid places that are like that. So, but that's up to you. I know plenty of friends who are anti-mask who choose to wear a mask to go into Costco because they can't afford it, or they just don't want the hassle or whatever. Draw your own line. But just the more that you can stand up, the faster this ends. Again, like, bear in mind, like, be nice to people. Be aware that conflicts rarely actually happen. It's really, honestly, even with myself, it's all in my head. Like I told you, I psych myself up to go into stores and then nothing happens. Like, it's just get used to being normal again, and pretty soon normal will come back to you. Thanks, guys. Love you. Would love to hear your thoughts on this video. And again, if I get zucked, deleted off social media, contact Cole Campbell at gmail.com, or contact Cole Campbell on Gab, on BitChute, and on Rumble. Thanks, guys. Love you. Bye.